All right, joining us now, California Congressman John Garamendi. He's a Democrat. He serves on the Armed Services Committee. So what's your reaction to this move by FEMA to transfer some of this money, $10 million, from preparedness, potentially preparedness, to deal with ICE instead of FEMA?
It's terrible. And it is really a reflection of where this administration's priorities are. They clearly are interested in ICE. They're interested in the immigration issue. At the same time, we have Americans in harm's way, and we have Americans that need help. FEMA needs to be prepared. If there are operations, that's exactly what they do to get prepared. That's moving people, moving equipment, getting prepared, pre-positioning. $10 million, that's extraordinarily important. They need it right now. Especially
as we got a lot of these hurricanes that move in tropical storms. There's a lot of work that clearly needs to be done.
Well, you just take a look at the map of the entire eastern Atlantic. There are hurricanes that are stacking up. They expect 4 to hit Puerto Rico. And we know that Puerto Rico hasn't recovered from last year's hurricane because FEMA didn't get its job done.
Well, speaking of Puerto Rico, I want to play a clip. This is the President of the United States. He was speaking, and I'll play the clip, he was speaking about what happened in Puerto Rico last year and why he thinks his administration did such an outstanding job.
The job that FEMA and law enforcement and everybody did, working along with the governor in Puerto Rico, I think was tremendous. I think that Puerto Rico was an incredible unsung success.
But take a look at the numbers. An unsung success. Nearly 3,000 people over the past year have died as a result of this Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. The original toll they thought was about 64. It's now 2,975. And the president says this was an incredible unsung success.
Well, maybe he's talking about his ability to toss paper towels. Well, he seems to be pretty good at that. But in terms of protecting Americans, it's a disaster. It's a disaster for Puerto Rico, what happened there. The FEMA did not do its job. They were not prepared. And in addition to that, people died. And today, more than a year later, this problem still exists in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that's an
people without power. The infrastructure has not been repaired. The economy of the island is just devastated. And the president operates in his own reality. He's not operating the reality of what's actually happening in America, and I might say the rest of the world.
And let's not forget, the people in Puerto Rico are U.S. citizens.
Absolutely.
These are Americans, and it's an awful situation. Now, I want to put some numbers on a different subject of a new poll that CNN has just released showing what the American public thinks about the Russia investigation and how Robert Mueller, the special counsel, is handling it as opposed to the president. What do you think of the Russia investigation? 61% think it's a serious matter. 33% discredit Trump for this matter. 33% don't trust the president. On this. 72% believe the president should testify in the investigation. 23% don't. The president and his attorneys are trying supposedly to work out some sort of at least written testimony, written answers to questions. Where's this heading?
Can I say you're wrong? The attorneys are doing everything they can to keep the president from testifying. They know that if the president...
Rudy Giuliani says they're trying to work out some sort of arrangement where there would be written answers to questions about what happened during the campaign, so-called collusion, but they wouldn't do written or oral questions about obstruction of justice after the president took office.
If you were to believe Rudy Giuliani, you're making a mistake. This man is all over the parking lot. He changes his narrative every other day. The fact of the matter is we need to know what's going on here. We need to know what the president did. We need to know when he knew what was going on and what was going on. The fact of the matter is he must testify, not just written, but he must come under oath and tell the American people what he knew, what he did. And if he didn't do anything, okay, that's fine. But this investigation has to move forward. It is critically important. This is the biggest scandal in America's presidential history. And there have been some whoppers in the past.
Well, there have been some huge scandals in American history over these.
Absolutely. There's never been one quite like this. We're talking about the fundamentals of the American democracy.
This is worse than Watergate? Oh, which led to the resignation of President Nixon?
We'll see where this goes. We'll see whether it goes to resignation, impeachment, or maybe it goes nowhere beyond where it is today. But we need to know as Americans what happens. We do know that the Russians interfered in the American election. We do know that today they are continuing their effort to interfere in our election, not only with social media, but also in the election process itself. This has to be straightened out. We need the president to testify. The circle around him is very, very tight. What did you know, Mr. President, and when did you know it? The question from Watergate needs to be answered by this president.
The president just signed today an executive order meant to punish foreign entities, I'm reading now, for interfering in U.S. elections, an attempt clearly to demonstrate muscle on this very sensitive issue. Your reaction?
Too little, too late. We have known since the beginning of his presidency that the Russians were messing around in the American electoral process. It was said by all of the intelligence agencies. And now, less than 60 days before the election, he issues an executive order at the same time that he's allowed his Republican Congress to take $300 million out of the appropriations to be used by electoral programs across the state to protect their systems. Come on, Mr. President. Too little, too late, but thank God for doing something.
I will point out that two U.S. senators, Marco Rubio, a Republican from Florida, Chris Van Hollen, a Democrat from Maryland, just issued a joint statement on the president's signing of this executive order. Among other things, they say today's announcement by the administration recognizes the threat but does not go far enough to address it. The United States can and must do more. Mandatory sanctions on anyone who attacks our electoral systems serve as the best deterrent.
All well and good. We need to whack them everywhere we can, but at the same time, we need to take steps to protect our electoral process. We know that the Russians are attempting to get into the voter registration rolls. All they need to do is to change one numeral in the address, and those people won't be able to vote. So how many people can you, or can they, in that process, make their voting opportunity unavailable to them because the voter rolls have been changed? We know that they've attempted to do that. We know that there's a problem going on in Florida and in other states. Money needs to be immediately available so that the states can improve their electoral protections. And if there is not a paper trail out there of the ballots, we're making a big mistake.
Congressman Garamendi, thanks as usual.